Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I interview founders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, you name it, in the world, across the world, in crypto and blockchain. And I have an amazing guest today. I have Diego Di Tomaso with Over. He is the Chief Operating Officer and co-founder of Over. Diego, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. First, so let's kick things off, and I look forward to this interview. And first question I ask my guests is this: what is your background, and is it a logical background for what you're doing now?
Well, yeah, this is a interesting question. Actually, I had a very diverse background, I guess, from most of the people probably in this industry. So I started like my work career in my family company. We was working with fashion, fast fashion, and I mean the company was sold in 2012, and since then I went in consultancy and first in finance, then in operations, and finally was working also on open innovation, working with startups and so on with PwC. And basically, the path that bring me there is that in 2014, a friend of mine told me about Bitcoin. I read the white paper. I totally lost my mind. I thought that everything was gonna be in crypto in the next year. Of course, it didn't happen. But basically, in 2017, I met my co-founder, that is Davide Cutini, that was already working not in crypto, but in the AR and VR space for B2B. And basically, together we start dreaming about building a metaverse. Back then we didn't call it metaverse, we call it the spatial web. And we was inspired by what the Centron did, because back in the days in 2017, the Centron was the first one to start with this idea of a virtual land and so on. And so we decided that we wanted to apply this concept to augmented reality. So the dream was to create to augment, to edit the physical world with augmented reality. And that's the way basically the project was born. So I stopped the consultancy and I went fully in this journey that bring me here. I mean, the company was founded in 2018. We started building in 2018, and 2020 was December 2020. We publicly launched the project. So yeah, I mean, I guess kind of a different path from many of the other founders, but yeah, I think that many of the things that I did in the past probably pointed me to this direction, I guess.
Great. And so let's go a little bit more deeper into Over. I said deeper into Over. What is Over all about, including your unique greatness?
Yeah, so Over is an augmented reality platform and or augmented reality metaverse, like they say on those days. And as I said, the vision is really to have a tool to augment the physical world. So we believe that in the future, and this is already happening, augmented reality will be one of the most important means that we use to interact with information. And basically, we are building a framework to augment the physical world in this way. The way it works is by three base layers. So one is the ownership layer, one is a mapping layer, and then we have a builder layer. So starting from the first one, just think about the web. So on the web, you buy a web domain and you decide what's the content on the web page on the 2D screen. And in space, you have a similar problem. So you need to assign control to what's the content in location. So to solve this, we built this that we call OVR lands. So we break down the world in hexagons of 300 square meters. And we think about those as spatial domains. So again, in the web, you have the web page. In our case, you have the world and you augment the world. So you buy that geographic coordinates, you can add AR content to that location. For example, you buy the hexagon, the OVR land that represents the Colosseum, you can actually add content over there. I don't know, you can put gladiators, you can put a tour guide that can tell you about the history of the place. You can do a reconstruction of the Colosseum like it was 2,000 years ago, and so on. So you have the power to decide what content will be showcased over there in augmented reality. But then once you have this, publishing rights, let's say, system, you have another technical problem that basically is the big problem with augmented reality. That is the precision that you have to edit the world. So usually when you do geolocalized augmented reality, you use GPS. One nice use case of this is Pokemon Go, for example, a very big success. Millions of people played to that game, but in that case, yes, the assets were geolocalized, were in specific locations, but they didn't have to be precise in a location because your aim was just to collect those. So you don't really care about the precision of where they are. But if you want to edit the physical world, I don't know, like I said before, for example, you want to have a reconstruction of a building like it was a long time ago and so on, in order to retain the magic of augmented reality, you need to be precise. You need to locate the asset exactly where it is. And with GPS outdoor, you have like 6 meters precision, 4 meters precision if you are totally in open air. That is not true, for example, in New York, where the big buildings, GPS doesn't work. And indoor, GPS doesn't work at all. So we need a system to locate you in space that goes beyond GPS. And that's why we built our mapping system that is called Map to Earn. And basically, it's a system that allows to everybody with a smartphone, simple smartphone, no need for LiDAR. The user can take pictures of a location, and from these pictures, we create a 3D map of the area. And once the area is mapped, the localization precision goes down to 20 centimeters, both indoor and outdoor. So basically, we enable all of these use cases for AR that before was not possible. And the interesting thing, important thing, I would say, is that this data, this 3D map of locations, is actually owned by the people that generate this. So this is very important in the Web3 space and the Web3 philosophy, that people retain the value of the content they generate, basically. Because if we think about Facebook, people generate pictures and stories and so on, they don't own it. In our case, basically contributing to the building of this platform, they own their contribution. And that is very, very important. I mean, it's a key point for the way we see it. And finally, once you have these locations mapped, you can actually publish content. We have this that we call the builder layer. We have two main systems to publish. One is a web builder, where you just drag and drop 3D assets or NFTs that you own. So it's a web interface, very easy to use. And while if you can code, so if you're like, for example, a Unity developer, you can also have a Unity SDK. So you can publish complex interactions also. You can even build games inside of this system. And up to now, 17,000 locations have been augmented through this system by 3,500 creators that are participating, are using the platform. And that's it at the very high level. Just maybe another detail that is interesting is that basically when you are in this metaverse, you are not a passive spectator, but you're there with your own avatar. We build photorealistic avatars from a single selfie. And so you can also interact in this metaverse, in this augmented reality metaverse with other people that may be visiting the location remotely. And so it's also a social place to meet people.
That's pretty awesome. We hear a lot as you hear the hype and of people saying, "Oh, the metaverse," but they can't explain a single thing about it. But you explain everything about it, so you're actually building. So that's awesome. So I ask you, how can the users of the metaverse, augmented reality, and virtual reality use technology and new experiences to add value to their everyday lives? And what should they actually watch out for as well, not to be detracted from their everyday lives?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that when we talk about the metaverse right now, of course, there is that mainly we think about a VR experience. And I mean, and of course, this is the first instantiation in our view of the metaverse, is like the low-hanging fruit right now because the technology is there to have occlusive experiences. But we believe that we will not spend most of our time in a total occlusive world, because at the end of the day, yes, we stare at screens for a long time of the day, but not in an occlusive fashion. So we believe that augmented reality is the future of this of ourselves living in the metaverse, and also probably it's a more sustainable future. This is not for saying that the VR will not be big; it will be even bigger than what is today. But at the end of the day, it isolates you from the physical world because it totally takes you in another place. And so I think that augmented reality is also a nice evolution of the way we interact with information. So we will stop seeing people just staring at the phones. We will see people with AR glasses or smart lenses or whatever, maybe in the future also with neural implants with what Elon Musk is building. And basically we will see our world, but augmented with information. So we will stop just staring down the screen, so taking out our attention from the world and the people that is around us, but that's basically merging information. And so I think that this is a very positive view of the future, and not a dystopian view of the future where basically we isolate in these virtual worlds and we totally go away from reality. And so, yeah, I think that really the means, so in this case, AR versus AR, is a kind of an answer to what is the way that's, I mean, we can imagine our future of interacting with the metaverse without taking away too much from our physical life, I would say.
That's always the concern, right? Say I'm single and I'm 20 and things aren't going well with the ladies. I could go on the metaverse and be a stud, right? But how can like you transition like, okay, you're a stud in the metaverse. How do you get back to being that stud in reality? What lessons can we learn that we could pull out of the metaverse to apply to our daily lives?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think that also, you know, sometimes being in the metaverse and maybe having a different representation of yourself or expressing yourself in a different way from your physical constraints is also a good way to maybe meet other people and get away maybe from the actual situation you are in real life. And I mean, and these things already happen in the web, in the old web, I would say. You know, so there's many people that got in love on the internet and then met, and so I guess this is just a new means to express ourselves. That then, of course, can come back to the physical, because at the end of the day, yes, you can be in love with somebody in the metaverse, but then you probably want to meet and share your life with them. But yeah, it's just a new way of expressing yourself that can definitely add to our capabilities of meeting people and expressing ourselves.
Awesome. I wanted to hear that because back in the 90s we didn't have the metaverse. We had bars and alcohol was the metaverse if you had enough of it. So um, so let me ask you this: why should the metaverse use new innovations in AR to build experiences that replicate real life? This is a different take on the same question, but
Yeah, so our vision is that the future is a blend between what is the pure AR and the pure VR experience. So right now we think about this like two different realms. Sometimes we talk about extended reality and so on, but we never seen really this happening. And and of course, the two means have their strength in different kind of situations. No, like for example, if I'm thinking about a virtual event, probably an occlusive representation of the location is much more powerful, or an e-commerce, virtual e-commerce is much more powerful, probably with the environment around you that gives you the feel and the mood of the brand and so on. But if you want to have, for example, meet people, have holograms of people around you, is much more powerful if they are mixed with reality, or even presenting a single product, like for example, what Apple is doing since long time, showcasing their products in AR. That's the reason why they do that, because our brains are wired to process 3D data in the physical world. And so if you present a 3D object in the 2D screen, is much more or less powerful that seeing it mixed with reality. It gives you another impression. So the one in AR is much more powerful. So it really hits you in a more immediate way. So it's clear that the two technologies have their merits in each, in different sectors. But the very powerful thing, and I think I'm very excited about, is that the technology now is starting. We see that the first example of this, allowing us to mix the two. And one example is this map to earn system that I was mentioning before. For example, when we started building this system, we was only thinking about precise geolocalization, so having the augmented reality experience. But since 1 year ago, a technology came out called Neural Render, Neural Radiance Fields, was issued by NVIDIA, and since then, many people have been working in this technology. So with these algorithms, from the pictures that we use for precise geolocalization, we can actually reconstruct the location, create an hallucination, a kind of 3D representation of how the location is. So what does it mean? It means that we can use the same data to actually have an experience in augmented reality, but then I could also have a remote experience of that location. Maybe I'm not in the location, I don't know, maybe I'm in the Sistine Chapel, I would see something augmented over there. I'm not in the Sistine Chapel, I can see it from my home. And in the way to generate this digital twin, this copy of the world, is based on the same data, these pictures that people can take. So I really see a future where the distinction between AR and VR is gonna blur a lot, and so we are gonna for the same location, we will have different kind of experiences depending on what we want to experience. We want to have a concert, we want to have a visit of the location, we want to meet somebody. So it really depends on what kind of experience we want to have. We will transpose the experience in AR or in VR.
I want to go down this path. So let's talk about, I want to talk about the maps, but I also want to talk about, you said it started out as the fashion web. And so some of the real world applications of VR and VR technology, one of them is entertainment sector, right? What are some others, and how will this affect the blockchain industry? And then I'll get into the maps.
Yeah, so regarding the use cases for the metaverse, let's say. So I think that now with the metaverse, we are just at the beginning, like it was in the internet in the 90s. And when I think about internet in the 90s, I think about the story of Amazon. So Amazon started selling books. And I mean, that was the low-hanging fruit back then. And I mean, it worked very well. But if we think about that, now the share of the Amazon business of books is just maybe 0.5%, something like that. So right now, what we see in the metaverse are the first low-hanging fruits, and so gaming for sure. It's a big thing. Live events, it's another big thing that can happen in the metaverse. But this is really just the beginning. When I think about the other use case that I think will be very powerful very soon, for example, fashion, it's one thing that I believe is gonna get more and more traction. And also that's the reason why we're working on that direction, for example, partnering with the Central for the Metaverse Fashion Week that is gonna happen in March. So if you think about that, we really care a lot about our identity in the digital space. So think about your Twitter profile or your Facebook profile and so on. There's people that even rent cars to take pictures and look cool in this Web 2 metaverse, let's say. So the more we spend time in the metaverse, the more will be important to actually have control on what is our physical representation in the metaverse, so our avatar way of looking. And I mean, fashion is something that is out there since centuries, and it's a way of express yourself. So of course, I really believe that the more time we pass in the metaverse, the more we have an avatar presence, the more important these digital goods will be. So probably fashion, there will be another big trend that we're going to see happening very, very soon. And we already see the first signs of that.
Okay, now let's get into the maps. Um, in college, one of my studies was geology, geophysics, and stuff like that. And we used to use these paper maps and have to use contours and get down to the, precision. And then years later, I worked at a rock drill manufacturing facility for Ingersoll Rand. And I just wanted to find out your perspective on how the AR VR tools, can be used, the mapping tools can be used in areas like drilling, like attaining natural resources, how the metaverse can be used as a tool to actually go into a quarry and know precisely where to drill, like how you see that as a potential application and use case.
Well, I think that for all that, I mean, you was mentioning about drilling and extracting and so on. So this is kind of, sometimes a dangerous work situation. So the first response on that, of course, is the simulation part. No, that is being used for years now to actually train the people to be in situations of risk without putting them in risk. So making them understand how will be the situation where they will be. So of course, simulation, it's one thing, but also, I guess, another thing that maybe can go out from the professional, the more vertical professional side, is also the popularization of what's about when you do some kind of job like that, or what's about what does it mean to be in a drilling station, or what does it mean being in a mine or so on. So really allowing with this digital twin, digital representations of location to bring people that would never have any idea on what is out there to have a look like in first person, being in this 3D representation of the location, understanding more, because sometimes also we are scared, we don't understand things that we don't experience. So I mean, this metaverse, this way of representing things and showcasing it to you without you being there is another powerful tool to actually bring people together and to let them know and understand what are the kind of experience that they cannot have, and maybe they don't like because they don't understand it. And yeah, that is one use case that I imagine. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
That's good. So that leads me into my next question then. So how does Over plan to change the way we view the world through photorealistic user-generated content? Because users have the opportunity to see that now, available to everybody. What do you see opening up for the world with what you're doing?
Yeah, so when we start building Over and we start laying down the white paper, one of the big challenges that we was thinking about was the world is huge and how we populate it with content. And so the idea from the beginning is that we would never be able to do it by ourselves. And the only way to actually populate the world is by opening a system that allow everybody to do that. So it's not us creating the content, but it's the community that creates the content. And that's not even enough, because also another powerful idea came in, and that is enabled by basically the Web3 ethos and infrastructure. So the fact that basically not only people can create content in your platform, but actually you can also use content that is created in other metaverses, because all of this content is represented by NFTs. So this is the idea of interoperability. So back in the days, Bill Gates was talking about the fact that content is king, and it was referring to the web, to the internet 1.0. But this problem is the same, I mean, in the metaverse. And I think that, I mean, one undervalued capability of NFTs is really to enable this interoperability. Because yes, it's true that NFTs enable the ownership of unique digital assets, and this is already something of groundbreaking. But it also gives you a building brick, a standard that all the people in the metaverse, in the Web3 metaverse, can use to share content and to tap in each other's content. So I have like an example on that I always talk about. And one of the first assets from other metaverses that we integrated were sandbox assets. So right now, if you have a character in Sandbox, you can play it in Sandbox with NFT, but also you can play with the same NFT on over. Not only you can see it, but you can control it. Just the same like you do in an occlusive environment in Sandbox, you can do it in over. And the nice thing, the interesting thing is that when we did this integration, we did not ask the permission to Sandbox to do that, because the NFT is out there, the link to the 3D file is out there. So we just say, guys, if you own the NFT, you can also use it on over. Then we showcase it to Sandbox, and they were super happy about that. They were enthusiastic about that. So, and this also is the difference between the Web3 and the Web2. Imagine me doing the same with the Fortnite asset. Of course, I would not be able to do it in the first place because the assets are not available, but they will immediately sue me because of that. So there's also another mindset. And this is what I think is powerful. So not only really the ownership, but also the fact that we have this NFT standard that allows to share content between metaverses and make them interesting. Because at the end of the day, building a metaverse that is empty, nobody will want to be there. So I think that the biggest effort that all the builders of metaverse they should take into consideration is how do they create great content and how they welcome content also from other platforms. So creating great tools to build content on the platform, but also being open to actually also showcase and use content built on other platforms, because everybody wins at the end of the day. Also, if you think about the value of these assets, if an asset was born in one metaverse and can only be used in that metaverse, its value is totally constrained to that metaverse. But if you can move around different metaverses, of course, that asset becomes much more valuable. And also, the ownership becomes more clear, because yes, you have a NFT standard, but then if the asset can be only used in one platform, do you really own that asset or not? At the end of the day, that asset is confined to the platform, to what the platform will decide to do. So yeah, content is really something that defines. It's very important in the Web3 metaverse space, I would say.
That leads me to a follow-up there. How would I buy an NFT on one platform? Say, for example, like I buy some collectibles on Suite, and then transfer them to be able to use maybe like in the gaming metaverse or something like that. How do you build that ability to bridge and and use an NFT from a different location and that you got into a interoperable metaverse? How's that work?
Yeah, so it depends from the kind of asset. So I will just give you the example for Over, but you can actually expand this to other metaverses. So in Over, for example, if you own an NFT that is linked, represents a 2D picture, a 3D file, or a video, the platform will see that you own it in your wallet, and basically they will expose this asset. So you will be able to visualize it and to use it inside our metaverse. And that is the easiest integration. So think about static 2D, 3D assets or videos. That is very easy to bring, and the standards, the 5 standards are very, very similar. The things get a little bit more complex if, for example, we are talking about logic embedded assets, like, for example, games and so on. So that could be difficult. But, maybe also not, because if, for example, both metaverses are built on Unity, it's not too difficult to move around. This is the sample with Sandbox, for example. And finally, probably the most difficult asset to bring around metaverses is wearables. I was referring to fashion before. And since most of the metaverses has their own avatars, so there is not one unique avatar body standard, also because every metaverse has its own mood sometimes. If you have a wearable, since it needs to fit to different bodies, you will have to build different versions of the same wearable. So just think about again, Sandbox, the Sandler, and Over. So Over is strives to photorealism. So we will have a cloth that is photorealistic. You go in the central and they have this low poly mode, so it will be low poly. And if you go on sandbox, it will be, voxelite. So the creator has this additional burden in this case to build the three versions. But again, this pays back because basically that asset has a value in all the three platforms at the same time. And for this, since we are really focused into that now, we're going to launch also a competition for people to build wearables that are cross metaverse between Over and the Central. So a single NFT representing two file versions. So you own the NFT, you can wear it in both metaverses. So yeah, it's like a multidimensional problem. But in general, I would say that if you're talking about really static files, objects, rooms, and so on, it's quite easy to port them between one metaverse and the other. Another example that I can give you is, for example, Spatial. They did the partnership long ago with Exclusible, and they built these environments that are minted as NFTs. And those same environments worked out of the box on Over. So it really is not too difficult. It's just about, having this openness in the philosophy of the different metaverses. And I would say that, the most important platforms really go in that direction. And so I'm quite confident that we will keep pushing on that. And also, I think that is important because this really is the difference between the Web 2 and the Web 3 metaverse. So not only the fact that you can own the asset, but this asset is independent and can move around different metaverses. So I see this NFT standard like the TCP/IP of the metaverse. Let's call it like that, if it helps.
I think it's incredible. So it's great. So so I have one final question. I want to thank you very much for your time today. This has been an amazing conversation, and I learned we need to be able to move things around, in the metaverses and have it be user friendly and everything like that. So it's great. So my final question is this: how can people find out more information about Over, about more information about you? How can they, keep up to date with what you're doing, join your community? How can they do any of that?
Yeah, so I think that the first thing to have an idea of what we're building, I guess, that's downloading the app and try to have some experience. So you will have immediately an idea of what we're building. And then, of course, to be updated on what we do on our website, overthereality.ai. We have all the news blogs, all the things are coming out. And if you want to have even more up-to-date information, our Discord, our Telegram channel, or our Twitter. So depending on what is your favorite media, we are out there. And please just use the official links, because you know that we are in crypto, we are in the Far West, everyone wants a piece of you. So please just use the official links. Because we know how the industry is early, let's say like this.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.